ceiling and visibility are unlimited, it's time to Squawk 1200 on EAA Radio.
We are talking all week during this hour about pilot mental health. While things are changing around transparency, many pilots and aspiring pilots can inadvertently foil their aviation journey by communicating honestly with their medical providers. Xyla Foxlin is an engineer, a content creator. She owns a Cessna 140 and has chronicled on her YouTube channel the many adventures that brought her happiness. She is the embodiment of a non-professional enjoying aviation to its fullest. However, she is here to talk about how normal reproductive care collided with the arcane FAA medical certification process. Xyla, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
We're glad that you're here. You're going to talk about your Pete and Pole tomorrow at 9:30 on EA Radio. We're excited to hear about your build. And I haven't kept up with all the videos. Do you still have the 140 or...
I still have the 140.
Okay.
It's unfortunately sitting out of annual in my hangar. I have not flown it since I lost my medical, but I do still have it.
Talk a little bit about, I think the documentary is just, it does a really good way of encapsulating what it is, especially for people who are just not familiar at all. They just like your videos and all that.
Yeah, like talk about what's in the documentary.
Yeah, well, a little bit. Just talk about why you were inspired to do that.
Yeah, I think it's sort of an interesting social paradox, I think, for pilots of we are so conditioned to be so afraid to talk about anything health related, not even just mental health, but like all of health, but mental health in particular, just because there's so many question marks, so much gray area, so much red tape, and like normal human experiences can sort of like take you can halt your career if you're doing this as a pilot. And so I had this happen. I basically, the TLDR is I changed birth control and had apparently what like a side effect 5% of women experience, which was like hormonally induced depression. And so I went to my gynecologist about it, and she was like, oh yeah, the only solution is Lexapro. And I said, I can't do that. I have a third class medical. Flying is my whole life, like outside of work. It's everything I love in the world. I'm not going to risk it on this. She was like, okay, well then you can either take the IUD out or you can just like white knuckle it through. And so I chose to white knuckle it through. And I was really upset that those were my only two options, and that there was so little research in like women's reproductive health and all of that. So I made a video about that. That got reported to the FAA, and then I ended up in the like FAA aeromedical
system.
I was like, there are words I shouldn't say on the radio. And in that process, I was talking to a lot of friends, and I was like, I really want to say something. Like, the system is so broken, and I have this platform, and I have this voice, and I want to be able to use it. And half of my friends were like, shut up, sit down. Using your voice is what got you in trouble in the first place. Why would you, like, did you not learn your lesson the first time? Don't step on the FAA's toes. And the other half were like, we are all living lives that are like half of what we could be. We can't get help, and we're so scared of losing our careers because aviation is not only our life but also our income. And like my income has nothing to aviation hurts my income. And so I decided to
like most
so I decided to say something and post a video about my experience in the FAA aeromedical appeals process.
And I think you touched on it, but it's certainly true. Is you have a normal life with normal things that we deal with, and you enter into the FAA system. There's not a lot of educational material on what that's going to mean, and so consequently, people either say nothing, or they're just not equipped to deal with it. And my experience has been from talking to a lot of friends, once you're sort of in that sort of system, it's hard to get out.
It's it's one of those, once you have the red stripe on your record, it's there forever. And the culture of silence is so pervasive. I imagine every single person you've had talking about mental health has talked about this, and how you can't ever get it removed. Like, I will always have that word depression. Like, it doesn't matter that it wasn't like innate to me. It was caused by like an external factor.
It was transitory.
It was transitory, and you know, I figured out, like, my body adjusted to this medicine. I'm not going to do it again. Like, I've learned my lesson. But it will always be there. And anytime I go for a medical, I now have to deal with that.
And what's really interesting too is that there's such a focus in aviation training on risk management. And I think that should apply, that attitude should apply to the whole medical certification system, because you are trying to manage risk.
Yeah.
So you're doing what we should be doing.
Right. And I've talked to a lot of pilots who have either self-reported or not self-reported, like kept quiet. And the running theme across all of those is that even if pilots choose not to tell the FAA anything, for the most part, they self-ground, because pilots are really good at saying, am I ready to fly this aircraft? Am I safe to fly this aircraft? And it's just like one of those other risk things. The problem is that they'll do that, but not like, why would you tell the FAA?
Mm-hmm. One of the couple of things I like you did in the video, though, one, you just talked very honestly and matter of fact about women's health, and you didn't you couch it in colloquial terms or anything. Like, this is what women deal with every day. This is normal. That part.
Yeah.
You also distilled down to, I made the mistake, or not the mistake, but I talked to my healthcare provider about this, and in order to have normal health coverage, I have to get a diagnosis for billing and all that other stuff. But then that invites, a curtain down on a part of my life I really like, thus perpetuating the very thing that
Exactly. And it's so interesting how I posted that video, and like the sheer number of stories. I actually had to give my team inbox password to like 5 people that week, because we were sorting through hundreds of emails a day from pilots who wanted to share their stories, and they had been keeping quiet for so long that they like needed to tell somebody about how much they had hidden or how they had lost their medical, and like it's such a pervasive problem that people are so quiet about.
So you have a real job, which is making cool videos and showing science and everything else.
Real job in quotes.
Yeah. But I mean, that's the other thing I was blown away by. It's like, this woman has made a career out of educating people, and I look at it as education, but also you're just like, this stuff is cool. I'm building stuff. I'm making, I think you kind of design campers and other kind of recreational vehicles for people and things like that. You adapt that, that's just completely out. So you're kind of lined up to build an airplane anyway with your skills. But you've got all this stuff. And so, where do you see yourself going now? You've got all the attention of the aviation community mostly behind you.
Oh boy, don't tell me that. I don't want to know that. I always joke with people when I have to introduce myself at conferences or whatever, because for the most part, most of the other creators I work with, they have like a rocketry channel or an airplane channel or, a boat channel. And I'm like, I build any vessel that gets you from like point A to point B through some kind of fluid, whether it be like air or water. But for the most part, I always say, like, I build things that take you on adventures, and then I get to go. So, like, sailboat, canoe, kayak, built a teardrop trailer, a bunch of rockets, which I'm not on the rocket for the adventure, but I have to go hike out in the desert and find it. So I think it counts. And so airplane just felt like the natural next step. And what's been kind of interesting is that I applied for a grant from the Sloan Foundation to build this airplane, and the grant covers the production costs of filming the process, so which is so nice. So because it takes twice as much time to film something that you're building than just build it, and then another like twice as much time for editing. But I found out I applied for the grant. I found out I lost my medical. 3 days later, I found out I won the grant to build the airplane. And it was like this cognitive dissonance where I was so scared of what that was going to feel like. And the reality is actually it's kept me really feeling like I'm still part of the aviation community despite not having a medical right now and not being able to fly.
Sometimes, it's just a true thing that we can't always control what happens, but we can control how we deal with it. And it seems like you figured that out.
I hope so. I think we're always figuring it out.
Well, we're always a work in progress, aren't we?
Well, I don't know if to make you feel better, but there's lots of pilots with medicals that take 20 years to build an airplane. So it seems like you are much more organized and you're going to get it done fast.
Someone told me the other day, it takes so long to build an airplane that you lose your medical by the time you finish it. And they were like, but you already lost your medical, so that means you'll finish it really quick.
Yeah, and I've seen friends of mine in and out of certification, and they still seem to have that zeal for just being a part of their airplane and creating something like that. So, and
Yeah.
I just think that your energy level, one of the things, again, in the video, you got the airplane, the 140, and then one of the first things you decided, I'm going to go cross country. I'm going to take this thing all the way across. You just decided to live it and really get a lot of experience right away, and I think that was really cool.
Thank you. Yeah, I was just chatting with someone out there. I'm only like a 250-hour private pilot, and 100 of those hours were soloing my 140 from the Atlantic to the Pacific.
Great way to build time.
Yeah.
Great way to build time.
Especially as a tail dragger pilot. I mean, that's really good,
Yeah.
to really get to know, because that's the airplane that needs flying all the time.
Yeah, crossing the Rockies in an 85 horsepower 140. Ugh, what like, and I'm so glad I did it before I lost my medical, because I have all of these great memories of my airplane to remind me of like why I'm fighting for the Mental Health and Aviation Act, why I am fighting for my own medical back.
Mm-hmm. And there's so many people like you in a sense that they want to help people who are struggling with this, because there are a lot of people at the beginning of their aviation experience that may not have the resources. Like me, I had the help of my pilot union to kind of get me through some of that stuff, but there's a lot of people that don't, and we all need to help lift each other up. Yeah. And I think if you're not already familiar with the Pilot Mental Health Campaign, they're doing absolutely incredible work. We're trying to pass the Mental Health and Aviation Act and the Aviation Medication Transparency Act. There's a bunch of stuff that they're doing here at Oshkosh. They have a booth. So if you're not familiar, please go check them out. She's new to our particular PMHC effort, but she's already got the whole spiel down. That's awesome. Yeah, Xyla Foxlin is an online creator, aircraft builder, and pilot. She'll be presenting on Friday. Xyla, change is on the horizon at 2:30 at Forum Stage 1. You're listening to EAA Radio.
I'm Frank Borman. I commanded Gemini 7 and Apollo 8, and you are listening to EAA Radio.